That's what I'm looking for. You probably won't see them with the GoPro, but the heifers are back here behind me. In the last video, you guys saw where I opened the gates for them to get in here and just left them open, hoping that they would find it, and they did. They're here in the second pasture now. So the reason that I'm here this morning is I need to get their water set up in here, and then I can close the gates and lock them in. The water setup here definitely needs some work. I mean, this will give them water, but just the way we've got garden hoses draped on the fence and a leaky valve over here, it needs some attention. Not something I'll be able to get to today, but someday soon. Water's moved, salt box moved, gates shut, and the heifers look happy. I think we're done here. We got a lot of things to do back home, so we better get back home and do them. That's what's going on today on Farmer Tyler Ranch. I was out here baling yesterday evening, and as you can see, I've still got 3 rows left. And you know, usually if you're out here and you've only got that little bit left, you would just go ahead and finish. But there was a reason that I had to stop, and it has to do with the neighbor over here. The guy that owns the walnuts next door here was running his sprinklers, and as a result, I got this like big wave of humidity that just kind of came over on these last rows here at about 8:30 last night. I got off the baler just to kind of look at things and check things out, and I noticed that the hay seemed kind of wet. So I probed a few bales, and I was getting anywhere between 17 and 19% moisture, which by itself is not terrible, but you certainly don't want it any wetter than that. So unfortunately, these last 3 rows were just too wet to finish. But this morning we've got a nice north breeze coming through here, which has got everything dried out to the point where it will bale. So let's go ahead and get this done for the year, and we can talk about yield and everything else. Bale's around 13%, so let's bring it home. Wouldn't you know, we're on the last row, ran out of net wrap. What it is. That should do it. I can't do this one-handed. Well, there it is, the last bale finally. It's a little bit bigger. It's probably like a 5-foot bale, but I could just tell looking down the windrow that I had too much hay for one 4-foot bale, so I didn't want to just have a little dab left over. So we've got one that's off size, but that's fine. I gotta tell you guys, it feels awesome to have this job done. This is always a big one that kind of hangs over your head, and there's a lot of stress that goes along with it, but Once it's all said and done and the bales are finished, I always just realize how much I actually do enjoy doing this. It doesn't really seem that enjoyable when you're in the midst of the stress, but once it's done and you've got a field full of bales, it's a pretty cool feeling. Bale counter told me that I have 328 bales out here, and I should have kept better track, but I think between 80 and 100 of those bales are big bales. Usually I figure I need around 300 to 320 small bales to get through the year, so I've got that and then some. So I don't guess there's really too much more to say about it. Let's move on to the next job. Looks like we've got a few leaks here, which is kind of to be expected. Threw these dams down when the ground was dry, and it's really hard to get them down all the way. So now that the ground is soft, we can redo them and hopefully speed the water up in this check a little bit. I'd say the water is about 3/4 of the way done. What I'm really noticing out here as I walk around is how much grass the cows left behind after the last rotation. That was the whole reason why I was trying to stock this up before I started grazing it intensively like I'm doing now, because when the cattle go through their rotation and they leave this much grass behind, it recovers all that much more quickly, and then the next time when they make their way back here, there should be a good stockpile of feed, and this cycle should continue throughout the summer. At least that's the hope. Like, look at all the clover that's still down here and Dallas grass. While I'm driving out here, I guess it's a good time to look over everybody. So you might notice that all the cows are bawling at me, and I guess that's probably the thing I like the least about doing daily pasture moves. Is pretty much anytime your cows see you, they start bawling at you, even when they have literally tons of feed on the ground. They just see me and they're conditioned to move, so that's what they think we're doing right now. One of our new calves, I noticed this one is a bull, and I haven't actually noticed what the other one is. So at some point I'm gonna have to get those two up and castrate the bulls and vaccinate them, but we'll wait, I think, until the cattle are in the next pasture rotation where they have access to the main corral. Just makes it a lot easier to catch them. And then there's little number 12 here. She's about the same. She seems maybe a little bit more active now. You can see, like, when I walk up to her, she stands up immediately, probably because she is used to every time we move pastures, I have to kind of come down here and escort her. And then the last one I really wanted to look at while we're out here is that white-faced heifer. Oh, actually, here's the other new calf. I'm kind of curious to see if it is a bull. Yeah, that one's a bull too. 2325. We are waiting on a baby from you. Is it gonna happen or not? I don't know. I know it's not gonna happen today though. Everything looks pretty good out here. I guess we can move on to the next thing. It didn't get any lighter over the winter. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Using 3/16 wall tube on that bale spear was overkill. It seemed like a good idea at the time, I really didn't consider how many times I would actually have to pick that thing up. It's got to be over 100 pounds. I'm back over here at the orchard now with the LS and the baler. The plan, if you haven't put 2 and 2 together yet, is to put the hay spear on the LS and start moving bales in the field out of the way so that I can cut a fire break out there. First step is unhook the power. That's the last bale. Tomorrow the plan is to come out here and mow the edges where I missed the hay with the swather, and then once I get that done, then I can go ahead and disc my fire break. I don't want to mow it today though, just because it's a little bit dry and windy, I think, to be running a mower. So we'll hope nothing happens today and come hit this tomorrow. I'm down here in the middle pasture now where the cows will be moved into later this afternoon, but before I can do that, I need to build my temporary fences. So I've got a side-by-side load of stuff, and hopefully this is enough to get it done. First thing I gotta do that I'm not looking forward to is cut a path through this, if I even can. This is pretty bad, but I need to do this so that the wire is not just laying in all that grass or whatever that stuff is and grounding out. So let's get to it. I've got these posts 25 paces apart, which probably puts them at somewhere around 70 to 75 feet apart. And that spacing seems to work pretty good on perfectly flat ground, which this is. If you're putting up wire like this in terrain, then you obviously have to adjust for that. But for flat ground, this seems to work pretty good. Let's click on the Gallagher S80 and see where we're at. It's like we're getting 7.9 kilovolts on this wire, which is more than enough to do the job and it would probably be doing even better if I was grounding it properly and not just clipping the ground to the fence. I know that's not the proper way to ground, but man, it's just so convenient. Well, this should be all ready to go to move them this evening, so we'll pick the video up then. But it's a few hours later, time to move the cows, but before I can, I need to get the bulls out of the main corral because I don't have my crossing finished yet. I've got a bunch of concrete chunks, and some of the cows probably could walk across those, but I don't want them to walk across excitedly, because when they get excited, they kind of forego some of the caution that they might usually have, and I just don't want to risk somebody getting hurt in that. So what we'll do instead is walk them through the little field up into the big corral, then I can open the gate and let them out. So that means you guys need to move, which I think you'll be happy about, because now that the bulls won't be able to stay in the big corral because the cattle will need to get in here in order to access water, they are now going to have the little field here. So they got a little bit of pasture. I'll keep the hay feeders full as well, and they'll be about as happy as they can be until breeding season. I'm scrambling around trying to get all these gates open, and the bulls, well, they saw what I was doing, and they never saw an open gate that they didn't want to walk through. Hey, watch out, don't break it. Okay, now go. Now go. Come on. Let's go. That did it. Oh yeah. Now we gotta start fighting. Well, as long as there's enough grass there at the edge of the barn, they should stay occupied while we're doing this. Get up. Go through the gate. Go through the gate. What are we waiting for? There. So the tricky part here is the cattle are going to come out of that gate and kind of want to just go straight, but the hot wire is going to direct them down that way. So when I open the gate, I'm just going to kind of stand right here to get them going that way, just for fear that one of them might just run right through this wire. All right, well, that worked out good. Buddy actually did, of course, you know, the camera didn't catch it. Of course, he did start to kind of go straight, and when he felt the wire, he turned, and then it did zap him, and he kind of jumped back in line. And then the rest of them are really respecting it. I think they are aware of it now, so we should be good. I see the last cow has made it down to the end and is now turning the corner to go up into the paddock where they are allowed to be. Hey, don't forget me. While the cows are here in the middle pasture, the only thing separating them from the bulls was this barbed wire fence. I added a hot wire here as well to give myself a little bit of extra insurance, because last year Rivet actually did jump this, or no, Little Boy jumped this fence and got in with the cows like a couple weeks before breeding season officially began. That's why we had that early calf. So I'm hoping that the hot wire kind of cures them of that, but you know, they're bulls, and when cows are in heat, I don't know if much is gonna stop them, but hopefully this will. I think the easiest way to bring the bulls into the little field here is through this little gate that the cows just came through. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. All right, boys, out you go. Am I gonna need to go get a flag for you? Come on, boy. Let's go. You too, sir. Come on, boys. Shh. You'll be happy when you figure out where you're going. There we go. Can't go anywhere without doing that. Oh, you guys. You know, if you opened your eyes, you'd be real happy. There. Rivet saw it. As long as everybody stays where they're supposed to stay, we'll be doing pretty good. And I think we're gonna be all right. The bulls aren't really trying to work that fence line. Well, shoot, we got a lot done in this video, but I think this is probably a good place to call it. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.